Hi everybody, my name is Jan Dufour and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I live just outside of Louisville, Kentucky. This episode is called Two Ornaments and I'm Sorry because last week I tried a few different new technologies because, we have to do that once in a while. And I don't know what happened. One of them went up sideways and I didn't know it because, of course, it posted right before Thanksgiving. I had a house full. I had like 15 guests here for the weekend, which was beautiful and lovely, and I loved it, but I didn't go and check. And then I looked at it Friday and went, what? I'm not sure what happened. Anyway, one went in as a post instead of a video, and I think it all got delivered early. So I apologize. I am so sorry. I'm not even sure I know what happened, but I'm going back to the way I used to do it because that works. Anyway, two ornaments for the price of one today. The other ornament that we're going to be doing is this one. It doesn't lay flat nicely, so I'm holding it. But as you can see, it's a clear ball, and I have the same, I don't know how well you can see this because there's a lot of glare on it, and I apologize. I am not a professional. I don't have a studio, so there you have it. But anyway, it's real easy to do, and we're going to make that as well. So I'm going to put that aside for right now. These ornaments I got at my favorite hobby shop. You know where I'm talking about. And they were $1.99 for two of them, and I got them 2 for 1, at half price. So I'd be on the lookout for that because it's awesome. They are really neat ornaments. These are not sublimation ornaments. Do not get those confused. I also do sublimation with my Cricut. It's a different kind of ornament. It's ceramic-y. I don't know exactly what it's made of because it came from who knows where and it doesn't say. So anyway, very inexpensive. Okay if you mess it up. I will show you one of those later. We're going to do Mr. and Mrs. Claus. I am going to actually color Mrs. Claus for you. Let me first tell you, this was done with alcohol inks. If I was going to advise you, I would choose alcohol inks. It's the easiest to apply. You can shade a little bit. It's got 2 nibs and it worked out really well. You don't have to finish this. It's not going to rub off. It's not going to smear. It's just the way it is. This one I did with our regular markers, so water-based markers. I don't know, it hasn't been on very long. It also looks like it doesn't smear. You can obviously spray coat over on the top of it, but it honestly doesn't need it. And before you give it away, if that's what you're going to do, make sure you write your name and the date on the back. I look at my Christmas tree and love the fact that I can know, oh, this was given to me in 1991. Anyway, it's a good idea. So the ink that I used in both cases on these ornaments was our regular Memento Tuxedo Black. And it dried. I maybe waited 5 minutes. I don't even know if it was that long, but it did dry. It sucks it right in, as does it suck up the ink as well. Now, when I made this ornament, when I made this one, I used our StazOn black. It's waterproof and it works really good. This is vellum, if you have any left over. We don't have any in the catalog currently. There's some coming up next year or at the beginning of the year. But anyway, if you have some left over, I did vellum. It works really well. I loved it. And I used StazOn black because I also did it on acetate, which you can't see very well unless I put a piece of cardstock behind it so that you can see it. Oops. It's very hard to hold or make it lay flat. But anyway, I think my shades are drawn. I don't know what else to do. Anyway, so there you have it. Let's do this and get that out of the way. See if that helps. Anyway, it's done with I'll hide my window. It's done on clear acetate, and you can use, you know, prepackaged stuff that you get that has, it's not real flimsy acetate. The way you get it in here is, I'll show you later, is you roll it up, put it in, and it pops open. So it does have to have at least a little bit of stiffness to it. So we're going to put that aside. I'm going to show you a couple of tricks. So anyway, as I was saying, you're supposed to use Stays-On when you're using it on things that don't absorb. For example, acetate. Can you see that? The acetate there, maybe. I didn't realize it until just a little while ago, but when I was making up the samples, getting ready to go, I didn't use a Stays-On. These look very much the same. So I did it with this, and that's a fail because, as you can see, I could rub off her arm, which is not a good idea. So we're not going to show you this one. I will show you this one. It did eventually dry on here. I'm not sure what's going to happen when we start coloring it. But anyway, I'll use this as an example to show you how to get it in the ball and where you go from there. We are going to color. Now, again, this one was with regular markers. I'm going to color this one to match this Santa in our alcohol markers. I think over all the testing I did, alcohol markers won. They worked out the best. So I'm going to put these here. Now, you're wondering what I used for the inside of this. I looked through all of my circles, and I can't tell you what size to use because when you buy them, they come in 100,000 different sizes. I'm exaggerating just a little bit. Let me grab it. A blank. So basically you have to kind of try to measure it. Looking at it like this, I said, it's somewhere around 2 3/4, maybe not. So I started measuring my circles. Some of them, when I popped it in there, I used, I used regular paper just to see. It was too big. It didn't open up correctly. Then it was 2.5 was too small. And then I found this shape and I said, I wonder if that'll work. And it does work. So yay. So we'll color that and stick that in there later. This is the beginning of December. So these are quick things to make as gifts. If you want to have something to be able to give away, a pair of ornaments or just one, all of the above. And with the alcohol, you would think that you couldn't use the memento, but it works fine. I found coloring her to pull away, use the point to get in here, and then go across and color all of here. Actually, the Santa was a little bit faster, but that's okay. I needed to make a matching ornament, so we're going to do Mrs. This comes from Sweetest Star. There's a gingerbread, and he would be precious as well. I thought about doing next time this in the background just lightly, especially on the one with vellum, because it's clear. This might not have been the best choice for the vellum ornament. Because there's a lot of whites or clear space around it. You might consider doing it on white cardstock instead. That can still open up. It won't be translucent the way the acetate is, but one, it would be easier to stamp on, easier to color. There are a lot of advantages to that, and it gives you a background. So you could consider that. Using some of our designer series paper, if it's not too busy, I think would be cute. Or just using a totally different stamp set that covers more territory in here might work better. And you'll see I'm not being super careful. And you're thinking, that looks like my 4-year-old colored it. You would be right. I love to color, and I don't want this video, since I'm doing 2 ornaments, I don't want this video to be too long because I know you are all busy at this time of year. So I'll show you a trick. One of them is to color in a color on top of it, and it kind of blends in and you don't notice. But if you got it just somewhere really that you did not want it to be on. One of the advantages of having alcohol markers or using alcohol markers is that, let me see if I can find a spot. Right here, the red kind of goes into the white. You can take your color lifter and it erases the color. Now it looks really messy, but that's gonna dry out because it's wet. This is absorbing the fluid and the red color will be gone. Now, the alternative thing is, let's see, what did I color? Excuse me. We had we had 2 grandchildren staying here. One of them had been coughing for like 4 weeks. They've taken her to the doctors multiple times. She did have croup originally and got treated for that. And then the cough got better, but never went away. And this weekend it went nuts. Now, I don't know if you'll notice, but by coloring over it with the blue, the red disappears. So that's always an alternate way of getting rid of the, oops, I went over the line. And these are, they are little lines, a little bit. There we go. And then I want to pull the color in just because the tip is easier to stick the tip in the little scallop, I guess it is. And then color around the rest of that. I wanted to have her a little bit more colorful than Santa. He's dressed appropriately with colors and all, but I thought Mrs. Claus could do with a little bit more pizzazz. And these, it colors so easy. You can get all fancy if you want to, but I don't think it's necessary. And we gave her really cool lemon lime mittens because she needed that. And boots. Her boots are very tiny. And those are her legs, and I'm letting her legs show because she's a lady and she has legs. And we're going to use Daffodil Delight for her hair curl. And then in her little bun, so Mrs. Clausy. Oh my gosh, how easy is that? And then I did put blue, I just realized, I did put blue on the apron tie just to give it a little bit more color. Originally I was going to leave it white, but she just needs some color. And then I did the fun thing by using Wink of Stella. Make sure it's clean before you start because it does pick up color. Here it's going to be in the center, so it's not going to pick up anything. I'm going to be careful around the edges. And it probably wouldn't pick up much of the alcohol ink anyway. But it will pick up, I'll show you a couple of other examples. The water-based markers that I did on the other Mrs. Claus. I'll show you in a second here. So now she's all sparkly and it looks gray, but it will dry white. But it is shiny. She's so cute. All right, so there's Mrs. Claus. On this one, it looks very similar, obviously, but this was using these, and I didn't put any Wink of Stella. How silly. It requires Wink of Stella. She must shine. I put some on the Santa, so I can't very well leave her out. That would be embarrassing. And so markers worked fine. I will rub one of the ones I did with marker just to see if you need to coat it. There, she will dry with a white. If you compare the two of them, this one's already whiter because it's drying. Okay, so this one, what did I do? This one is also colored with alcohol. I did make his beard shiny. I might change that. This one I did with watercolor pencils and a blender pen. I would not recommend that. One, it smears it's still on here, you would have to apply a coating on it, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But I would beware because his beard got a little on the red side. Now, because it's a watercolor pencil, I did take my mono sand eraser and erase a lot of the mess that I had made. And yes, a stamp, these things come in handy. Both the original set, the extra set, a blender pen, my eraser, and my sharpener all fit in a stamp case. So that works well. So I would not recommend that. Just for purposes of, if you want to shellac it after, that's fine too. I'm going to show you a couple of hints on this one. We'll put these aside because those are done. This one's going to go in, and like I said, I incorrectly stamped it, but it seems to be doing okay. Because it's not porous, or as porous as, I'm using alcohol markers. Yeah, it's okay. It's not as porous. It still takes a little bit of time to dry. But that's okay. When I do it on the acetate, I'm not going to color all of her because that would drive you nuts watching me color the same stamp all over and over. But I wanted to do the same stamps because I wanted to be able to show you the comparison on what works better. This actually still does look a little pink because the color is absorbing quickly. So what's going to end up happening is I'm going to let it dry as I continue, and alcohol dries quickly. If you're using the water-based markers, you will have to let it go a little bit longer. I'm just going to finish her dress and then show you how I can darken it. But you'll have to let it dry longer, and then you can come back and add some color so that it doesn't look pink. So up here it's dry. So when I color again, as you can see, it's turning red or redder. And that's just, again, the nature of it spreading out on a less absorbing vellum as opposed to the regular. But you can get it to red. So you just have to, and the only thing that's really important is the red because the other two colors just end up being a little bit lighter. And as you can see, I'm doing a very messy job, but you know what? It's cute. All right, I'm going to give that a second to dry. And then I am going to pop it into, I want to show you how to pop it into the circle. But in the meantime, while I give that a second to dry, this is going to be a mess, I can tell you already. Although if I do the other side, let me see. Oh no, that's the wrong side, obviously. Let me get that off my fingers. If you go on the other side, if you accidentally did it with the wrong ink, you can color from the back side. So see, it's not smearing here because it's inked on the other side. And that was my boo-boo. But I wanted to show you, if you do it on the acetate, you have similar issues that you had with the vellum, only this is, I don't want to say worse, it's more noticeable. So again, it's coloring kind of pink, right? And you can't take the color out because it's on the other side. And really, you can do that even if you use the Stays On, but unfortunately, I grabbed the wrong pad. But anyway, lesson learned and good to show you a oopsie. All right, so once it dries a little bit, this is kind of dry, you can go back and basically, I mean, literally just like dropping color on it. It makes it look very artistic. Because what happens is if you start to color again, you're actually sometimes wiping the color from underneath off. So that's really not the way you want to go. So you can just add color doing this. And I know it looks funny now, see, but I'll show you white. It'll get to red and it does work good. So let's put this aside. This should be, push this all out of the way. This should be fairly dry. Yeah, looking good. I'm going to take this off. Now, it's got a little tag. And again, I can't tell you what size to make it. That was a trial and error on my part. I think I cut out 3 circles before I found one that worked. Well, I hope I didn't get whatever Lola had. All right, so let me tell you, you can pull it out. Let me give you some tips. I would spread this out a little bit, because you got to get it back on. And you're going to be squeezing these to get it in, and you end up squeezing these, and then they're not big enough to get back on. So just widen it up a little bit. I'm going to hold that. All I did was roll this in like a little burrito, pop it in, and look at her go. Now, I'm going to use my tweezers. Let's see. And if you're careful when you put it in, she'd be straight, but of course I wasn't careful. There, so I straightened her out. So I got her where I want her. I'm sorry, hang on. All right, so we got her in. Got to put this back on. And I try to put it like behind her so that so that she doesn't show the prongs. And this is what I meant by you have to fold in. There we go. And when you pop it back on, you need to have these outside so that you can squeeze them back shut. But there you have it. Isn't she cute? Hide the window again. But yeah, and then you just add a little string and you have a cute little ornament. So thank you for being patient. I apologize again for last week. I had a good streak going. I had over a year. I posted every day, every week on Wednesday. So I messed that up, but that's okay. I'm back on track. Next week, we're going to do a quick card so that you're not only doing ornaments, because I know I've done quite a few of them, but it seems like people like them. So I hope you have an enjoyable week, and I'll see you back here next week. Thanks. Bye.